Good morning. How we doing, guys? Happy Friday. Hope you're having a good morning here so far. Hopefully we can make it a good one and end out the week strong. That's a horrible mentality to start the day off of, isn't it? I'm always talking against that, but let's see what we can do here today. What do you guys say? So, as far as news, business first. As always, we get the University of Michigan sentiment final read. Heads up, this is the least important Michigan number, though it does cause some volatility. The preliminary read is more important because that's the first look, and they're 2 weeks apart, I believe. And the preliminary read is the first look that we get, and they're usually pretty accurate with the first look. So the final read is kind of like, hey, we brushed it up. Here's the actual final number, and it's almost always relatively similar. So the market doesn't tend to care as much, but that hits at 9 Central, 30 minutes after the market opens, and really that's it. That's it as far as scheduled news here today. So we are free and clear to trade as we please, but obviously we have to keep an eye out for unexpected tariff news, which has been causing some, well, it's actually been, it's worked out well for my trading, at least in that one trade that we had the other day, but I'm not a big fan of big unexpected volatility. It just causes a lot of wicks. I mean, look at this. Look at this. This is ridiculous. And then volatility dies, right? You get this massive outsized bar, at least in pre-market, right? That's a big outsized bar. And then volatility is right back to 5 times lower. So what I really want is I want moderate volatility, but I want it to be smooth. Is that too much to ask for? Good morning, guys. How we doing? Bennett, Peter, JJ, what's up, guys? Christian, John, Kev, how you guys doing? All right, we are 4.5 minutes out here from the opening bell. By the way, the headline, the breaking headline of the morning seems to be China and the U.S. not having any talks on tariffs from the Chinese embassy. Mitz, old school Rick. Kale, what's up, guys? Welcome back, everybody. Rightish, Gibbs, JM, Chris, Michael, Superfly, Troutman, how you guys doing? Joseph, I signed up to Apex. Today is day 2. Good work. Cool. Yeah, the 90% off is over. They did not extend it, which I didn't really think that they would. It's now 80%. Ooh, big deal. So if you missed it, it's still 80% off. But 90% is better. Chris, Todd, Exposed, Debo, what's up, guys? Welcome back. Bricko and Jude. Higher high, what's up, guys? Now, I have not had any issues with Ninja Trader on my end here this morning, but you know when I did have problems? Yesterday after the bell, I think it was right after the bell. I'm curious if you guys saw this. We got obviously that huge move. Ninja Trader completely froze. I wasn't in a trade, obviously, but it was nuts. Thinkorswim and Ninja Trader were like 100 or 200 points apart for minutes at a time. Todd, Scooby-Doo, what's up? Zachary, welcome back. Did you catch that perfect upside continuation after the stream yesterday? Well, I'm not sure what one you're talking about. So, update on yesterday. I left the stream up, I think, 21:30, and I ended the day. I traded one account after I took like 2 scalps and I left. So I ended the day up to like 23.50. It was really no big deal. So maybe, Zachary, I'm not sure what one you're talking about. Hey, Ram, Gumby, what's up, guys? Clinton, 3 evals going today. Cool, brother. Joel, good morning. How you doing? 2 minutes out here from the opening bell. Old school. Did you sort out the discrepancy in my take profit trader profits? So if you guys weren't here yesterday, if you don't know, I'm well above the buffer in the 2 take profit pros that I've been trading, and I had, it was Wednesday. Wednesday was the day where I think I made like $3,900 in the Apex accounts, and the take profits were very small green, like $300 across the two. So it was like $150 per take profit trader account, right? But they were green, okay? Now, I came back in Thursday morning, I checked my balances, and it was not from a payout. I had already like done the math, okay, like all the payout money is gone. There should be this much left over. And I was missing a bunch of money per Take Profit Trader account. So I reached out to Take Profit Trader, and the rep had no idea what I was talking about, seemingly. Just sent me my performance reports, which showed that I was right. I don't think he looked at them. And then he just said, you got to reach out to Tradeovate. So I did, and they said, no, this is a Take Profit Trader issue. So I'm waiting to hear back from Take Profit Trader. I'm sure they will fix it, by the way. I'm not worried about it. I just need to get the right person. But I know it's a problem. This isn't like me misunderstanding something. I did all the math. There's quite a bit of money missing. What's up, Trick Biscuit? Jason, Eric. Debo passed another eval yesterday. 350K funded today, slowly scaling. Cool, good work. Good work. Eric, this morning I was over leveraged on 3 evals. Trump came along and wiped them out. Yeah, well, there's always a balance, right? If you want to trade evals aggressively, you got to be careful with unexpected tariff news, especially in funded accounts. Make sure you're running live stops in a market like this. We're seeing a lot of unexpected news. There is the opening bell. Let's see what we get. Peter, check your wallet on Take Profit Trader. Maybe they moved the money. No, I didn't request. I had just taken one like the day prior, and I did the math. And then, I don't know, it was bizarre. It's not in the wallet. I ran the numbers. It's just missing. I don't know what's going on. But again, I'm sure they will fix it. I'm not concerned about it. I'm not mad at Take Profit. I'm just a little annoyed with the rep who didn't bother to look at my numbers. Clearly. Lee, welcome back. Good morning. Brian, how you doing? All right, we're going to let these institutional orders clear out, and then we will get to work here to finish out the week. Again, if you're just joining us here, the only news really, well, always got to be on the lookout for unexpected news. I'm sure we will get a little bit of that here today. But really the only scheduled news that we're looking at here today is the 9 a.m. University of Michigan sentiment final. It's not the preliminary read. The prelim is usually more volatile. The final still is volatile, but maybe like half as much. That hits at 9 o'clock Central, so 28 minutes from now. So we'll see what we get. Joseph, do you close positions and stay out until news volatility is over? Yeah, I'm not big on trading through news, because news, in my experience, it's almost every news is 50-50. I mean, if you look at the way that the futures market operates, it's an efficient market, okay? There are a lot of participants, and it prices things very efficiently. Not perfect, that's why we can find edge, because it isn't perfect. But it's quite efficient. So wherever the market is heading into almost any news event, a lot of people think that they're like, oh, this is like a 90% chance that this thing crashes, or this is like a 90% chance this thing skyrockets. That's fundamentally not true. The buyers and sellers have met somewhere. There's plenty of participants coming into a news event. So the opinion of the market, you just think that your opinion is right, but the market actually disagrees with you. So almost every news piece is pretty much 50-50. Now, price action during the day, there are little periods where things shift out to 55-45, maybe 60-40 probability-wise, okay? And that might only last for a few seconds at a time. And boom, you hit your entry. Now, obviously, those probabilities are, There's a million different ways for those probabilities to work out. It's very liquid. Okay, it's more liquid than you think, because if you're running like a 1-to-1 reward to risk, 40 points, that's different than if you're running 10 and 10, right? Or 100 and 100. So it's not for everybody, the 55, 45, 60, 40. It's not for everybody at the same time. It's for certain trading styles, very specific trading styles at very specific times. So you might take a trade while I'm sitting here doing this. That doesn't mean that it's wrong. It just means that you and I maybe are not trading the exact same way, or maybe I am missing something, or maybe you're putting on a bad setup, assuming we are trading exactly the same way, which by the way, we're not. Liquid is the key word. Fluid, I guess, is a better way to put it. All right, give this a few more 2-minute bars. Then we'll start looking to see what we can grab here. Now, market inertia, as far as that is concerned, there is where we sit. Bottom of the screen, right? That daily chart is where we're looking. Yesterday seemingly was a bit of an attempt to put in a little bit more of a trend day. However, based on what we've seen the last 2 weeks, I still today have to think range day, range day, range day with potential of trends. But to bet on some huge, 800-point trend day, I think is not a great bet, just based on what we've seen out of the market inertia. Good morning, Marshall. What's up, Keith? How you guys doing? Yeah, Mitts, on the Take Profit Trader tests, for all of you guys, you can't make more than 50% of the profit target in one day. So if your profit target is like 9,000 bucks, or whatever, depending on what account you're using, you can, there's 2 different ways to do this, right? You can either try to get 20%, like 5 days in a row, because you have to trade for 5 days. Or the way that I prefer to trade the take profit tests is because of opportunity cost. I don't want to have to think about this so much 5 days in a row. I prefer to just set 2 days aside, try to get 50%, 50%, and then I flip it for 3 days. Or maybe, you get 50%, then you have a small red day. You're like, whatever. You walk away, you come back, you try to get your 50%, and then you have a little bit left over, whatever. 4th day, 5th day, you try to just make it up. Try to be like 20%, 20%, 20%, I think is a lot of mental capital and potentially some opportunity cost with a high expectation of perfect consistency, which is kind of tough. But that's probably the less risky way to do it. But at this point, you guys probably understand that for me, the tests and the evals, I'm less concerned, and this is a personal decision, by the way, and it depends on your business model, where you're at in taking payouts, stuff like that, how you sit financially, whatever. Do what's best for you, but my outlook on tests and evals is I'm more concerned with the opportunity cost and the mental capital than I am with the cost of them, because they're just so inexpensive compared to what you can make. Todd, well, I'm done and out. 2,400 for the VWAP push, gap fill push. I'll take a 6-minute workday. It's Friday, green and gone. All right, get out of here. For the rest of us, we're just getting started, man. Maury, good morning. How you doing? What's up? What's up, Panther? TV. Good morning. Welcome back. Explain the 5-to-1 RR Apex rule. Simple. Just don't risk more than 5 times your potential reward. Now that's a little more nuanced than that. You have to think about this, right? Because you're going to take slippage and you have commissions. So a lot of people, what they do is they're like, okay, I'll just put a 50-point stop and a 10-point take profit. Don't do that. Because when you get stopped, guess what happens? Maybe you get a little bit of slippage and you have commissions. So now when Apex, the reps, look through and they're like, should we give this guy a payout or this lady a payout? And they're like, 5.1 to 1. Risk reward. Denied. So if you're going to run negative risk reward, negative reward to risk on Apex, which this does not apply to take profit trader, but on Apex, I think the most you should go as far as your ratio for stop and take profit is like 1 to 4 reward to risk to account for slippage and commissions. Don't give them any reason within your control to deny your payouts, is what I've learned. Well, Bears trying to, you guys see, we get some shrinking bull bars here. The Bears are trying to trigger a little reversal sequence. See if they can. Now, you look where we're at. Break even, right? Break even point on the day for the Nasdaq. Now, the Nasdaq tends to have some issues, especially as of late around the break-even point. And by issues, I mean be indecisive. Lee, I grabbed 3 new Apex evals right before they dropped to 80% last night. I'll start working on those later today when I get out of the office. Listen, you should have more people watching you. Love the way you trade. Appreciate you saying so. Yeah, we just got started on the stream, I think, maybe less than a month ago. So, I'm having a good time, though. I'm enjoying this. Yeah, you know, that when they run that 90% Apex deal, it's crazy. It helps the business model so much. Because, you know, the activation fee at Apex, it just is what it is. It's going to be either 85 a month or 130 lifetime. Which, you know, how do you make that decision? Well, how long on average do you keep an account? Meaning, how aggressive do you trade? Meaning, how much size do you trade? If you only keep an account for 3 weeks on average, I wouldn't say there's anything wrong with that as long as you're making what you seem to be the most amount that you could make, putting yourself at the height of the bell curve of profitability trading prop firms, right? If you blow accounts every 3 weeks on average, go monthly. Right, but if I think for a lot of people it's going to be a little bit longer than what the math works out to make it make sense to go lifetime. But it doesn't have to be. You know, I'm not here to tell you how to build your business plan, but the reality is everyone, you know, seems to think that if somebody ever blows an account, they suck. I honestly think, you know, to put yourself at the height of profitability for prop firms based on the way that their rules are laid out, if you like really do the math, I think to make the and again, the accounts themselves, if you're profitable, they're so inexpensive. The evals, they're just too cheap to try to white knuckle accounts for 10 years and take it so slow where you're leaving a ton on the table, right? So I think you probably should have a point on average where, okay, now you cycle some new accounts in, because why is that the case, right? If you're not understanding what I'm saying, because sometimes you're gonna hit a statistical anomaly where you lose, you know, 8 trades in a row. And the question that you have to have is, okay, how often do I want, or how probable every month or every quarter do I want that anomaly to be? Which determines how big you should trade. Right? How many contracts? How many micros? Maybe how many minis if you're really aggressive, but I think micros are the better way to go here for prop. Savan. Stefan, good morning. The 90% thing is, it doesn't happen that often. I don't know. It's kind of random. All right, so range here, if we take a look up top, let's figure out what's going on. We're coming in, getting closer to 845. You guys remember we have University of Michigan sentiment final hitting at 9, okay, so we got to consider that. But I'm open to putting some on before that for sure. This bar here would actually have me very interested. If we can get it closed below the 20 EMA on the 5-minute for continuation. Okay, but... you know, Daniel, you're right. We may end up putting in an ascending channel, and then I would not get my entry anyway. But if this 2-minute bar, if we can see it close beneath 19,285, really 19,280, that would be beautiful. But it would have to close near the low of the bar. 1 minute and 18 seconds out here from that happening. Okay, so range of these bars off the open, we're in a decent zone here. Again, my sweet spot for range is going to be 25 to 70. Range of a 2-minute bar, that is. Our bull's trying to take this back upside here. Daniel may be right. We may end up just putting in a little ascending channel, and then I'll have to trade that channel. Honestly, I'd prefer continuation with a setup like this. You get a push upside. I don't love that we're around the break-even point right now. I mean, you look. We're literally at break-even, 0% right now. And the market tends to have trouble with that, at least the last few weeks. All right, well, the bulls kind of shot my setup in the foot there, but the next bar here, once this one rolls over in 50 seconds, then the following bar offers some potential. I don't want this one to grow too much because then it becomes really, really outsized, and then my entry bar would also have to be an outsized bar for it to even be an entry. That would cause issues, so bulls trying to wick it back up here. Again, right now I'm thinking channel day, channel day, channel day with potential of breakouts. Just because of what we saw yesterday, but I'm not, you know, gonna bet the farm on some big breakout that probabilities is not coming. All right, watching this bar. 1 second. All right, we're back. Well, the bears are trying to either widen out this channel or take this continuation. Honestly, I would really love if they could just take this continuation, put a stop to whatever this is, take us lower, and close right about, honestly, like here. Would be a beauty for me. Because then I could look to try to stop hunt this. Which is, by the way, a pre-market level, but it's so obvious that, and it's really the only one in sight when you look. That's really it. Even though it's pre-market, I know that some longs are going to set some stops there. But 33 seconds out here. Let's see if we can get something cleaning up. Not looking too promising. All right, there's the rollover. That turned into a bit of a gravestone doji, which shows an attempt at a little reversal out of the bulls and then a fail. Kind of a disappointing bar for bulls. So let's see if we can get a bit of a continuation here out of the bears. We still have about 9 minutes until the Michigan number hits. So I'm still cool. Once we get within 5 minutes, I'm not a fan of putting something new on. But I know my average trade duration. Sometimes they can take a little bit longer. But anything over 5 minutes out from the number with this, I'd be cool putting a new trade on. Really hanging out around these 20 EMAs here. Not only on the 2, but I mean, you look at the 5 minute. We're just sticking to it. There we go. There's a bit of a push. It's a volatile push. We may have just seen some kind of smaller headline. All right, here's the rollover. All right, there we go. Now, controlled move with a close near the low of this bar. I would be very interested in selling the rollover, which occurs here in 1 minute and 40 seconds. I'm interested in prop trading, but it seems like a lot to take in. It can be, yeah, it is. What's the best resource to learn more? Been sim trading for a bit to get a feel. Well, you want to understand the rules of prop, so look at the rule page of whatever prop you're looking to go with. And then as far as just trading, it's like going to be a journey. But you've been sim trading, so you're probably deep in that journey already. But from going from just trading to prop, best thing you can do is try to get a feel. Go read the rule page, for example, of like Apex, because they're probably the most complicated. So starting with them maybe is best. Try to understand their rules. Read the page. You're probably not going to get it all. And then I don't know. I answer a lot of questions about prop on the stream, if that helps. Okay, so we have 40 seconds until the close here of this bar, and I gotta tell you, we're 6.5 minutes out from the university number hitting, so I'm fine. I gotta watch this here, and if we can get a nice low close, then I am interested in going ahead and putting this on. We have to see a nice low close, okay? I don't want to see some big wick back upside like we're currently getting. 12 seconds here to clean this up. Again, 2-minute chart. I'm looking at the top right of your screen. See if we can stop hunt those little pre-market levels. Come on, bears. Keep it low. Don't let them wick it back upside. All right, and I will. I will get short there on the rollover of that bar. So I am now sitting short in all the accounts. Average price here, 19,243. Stop up at 19,283. Take profit down at 19,203. Sitting about 7 points in the red. See if the bears can take this back lower here. Bull's trying to bounce this immediately. All right, 20 points in the red. Again, stop at 19,283. See if the bears can step in and try to sweep out that pre-market low, which might not be enough to push me right to target, but might get me within, 10 points. Again, target down at 19,203, but still sitting about 15 points in the red here as we sit right now. All right, pushing upside here. Again, 25 points in the red. Stop at 283. Bears just stepping right out of the way. Getting a retest, it looks like, got to tell you, of the 20 on the 5-minute. So we're getting close here now. Might just go ahead and clip us. Yeah, getting close, kind of teasing that stop. Still in the trade. There's the rollover. Big bull bar. Be a little surprised if the bears take this lower from here. But this is not a long that I would enter on its own, okay? So I have to I can't manage early, gotta just let it sit. But probability of stop here is quite high at this very moment. A weird zone here. Seem to be kind of arguing around 19,280. Yeah, my stop is right above there, 19,283. Bears kind of trying to take it lower. Bull's just not really giving up here quite yet. So we got a test of the 20 EMA on the 5. I mean, it was like a perfect wick test. So, I mean, we'll see if that's enough here to save our trade. All right, we got that Michigan number hitting in 1 minute and 45 seconds. It's the final. If this was the prelim, I'm still thinking about this. If this is the final read, if this was the prelim, I would for sure flatten this before we hit. Let's see how the next minute 25 plays out. All right, there we go. That push is going to stop us. Hang on, I got to flatten here. There we go. We are flat. So that puts us down. We actually got decent fills. That puts us down 2250. So we're down 1R. Let's let this Michigan number hit. And then we'll start looking for setups again. Usually the Michigan number is only going to cause volatility for maybe a minute. Okay, so what'd that wick up to, by the way? Oh, that was a big wick. Actually, not so much. Ninja Trader showing that wick 10 points higher than Thinkorswim is. Which is a common issue between these two. Be little data errors. All right, let's let Michigan number hit in 22 seconds here. And then we'll wait about 60 seconds or another 2-minute bar and see if we can get some more setups rocking and rolling. Here we go, 5 seconds. There's the number, there's the volatility. Again, believe it or not, that's usually a little bit less than we see out of the Michigan prelim. No, Lee, it was not the news. All right, so that number came in actually a little higher. The forecast was 50.5. It came in at 52.2. That's why the market, we saw a little pop. Yeah, no, it was not the news that that stopped me out of that trade. I was just wrong. Good setup for me, though. I wouldn't say it was like the perfect like textbook continuation, but it was a good setup to put on. Just happened to be a loser. Part of the game. Get over it. That's actually a pretty good Michigan read. It's good for the U.S. So, again, still, that breaking headline from this morning was that the China and the U.S. are not having any talks on tariffs, and that was coming from the Chinese embassy. So I'm curious, does that decrease the probability of random tariff news today? I guess I don't know the answer. Just gotta trade as normal and make sure we're protected. I mean, I guess Trump could send a post any minute he pleases. All right, let this clear out, and then we can kind of start looking for more setups here. This volatility usually lasts maybe a bar, and then it kind of starts to fizzle out and clean up. Back to break even, by the way, on NQ. which tends to be a hang-up for this market lately. Whole lot of earnings next week, by the way. Man, so maybe I'm hoping that at least next week we will see earnings volatility kind of take over, and we'll see an influx of volume into the Nasdaq due to earnings, and hopefully that will smooth out the tariff volatility we've been seeing, because this week has been, you know, we've done well this week. We've been able to perform okay, but the volatility this week has just been kind of weird. Again, we get like normal bars, and then out of nowhere, there's just a giant, wicky, ugly candle. And then the news headline hits 2 minutes later, and it's something about tariffs. So I'm hoping that earnings will kind of, I don't know, take precedence at least next week. Smooth things out for us. Okay, so the market, I think, is kind of over the university number. So as far as scheduled news, that's it. We're done for today. But now we got to be on the lookout for just, you know, random tariff headlines hitting. Definitely a channel day here so far. I mean, that's for sure. Look. Certainly turning into a channel day. Now it's just a matter of, okay, can I take continuation inside of the channel? However, there's a few issues with that. The break-even point on the day is kind of an issue. We're hanging out around there. That could be a potential hang-up. Unfortunately, the channel right now, there's not really any touch points, but it looks to me like kind of just sideways, which is tough, at least for me to take trades on. A sideways market like this, I gotta see some kind of, if I'm gonna channel scalp, I prefer that it's either ascending or descending. It just makes shorting a descending resistance, buying an ascending support, higher probability. Because what do sideways markets do, right? They put in flat tops and flat bottoms, and flat tops and flat bottoms notoriously break hard at 50-50 in the futures market. Okay, so we're coming into this little potential flat top, right? You're looking at this. Really only one touch point, so it's kind of tough to say that it's not like developed yet, but it has potential to do so. Or we could end up seeing this being an ascending resistance, and then maybe this turns into an ascending channel. Wide, but that would be okay. And honestly, I would prefer that. What I don't want to see is this flat top hold and just reject, because then it's like, oh goodness, this market's just going sideways. Which makes our job tough, really. All right, there's the break of that little flat top. Good. Good. Now, however, we got to look at this. I mean, I'll draw it on the 5-minute. We have to look at this potential of becoming a thing. Again, it makes it hard to bet on big breakouts when I know that the market has been channel driven lately. That inertia, right, that we get from the daily chart. Now, down here, that was actually fine in my book. Okay, it's, you know, somewhere in here. We were still within, you know, these are all pre-market levels, but still a stop hunting mentality. There was room. Now, when you start seeing pushes outside of that like this, I really need to see it confirm for me to be cool taking that. Because I know the bears are, I mean, look, the bears are seeing this. Okay, they're going to try to step in. Now, do they succeed in pulling it way back? Who knows? But for the time being, they're going to get a little bit. All right, there's a push. Minute 20 out here from the close of this 2-minute bar. I would consider this a push outside of that range. So that starts to make things a little more interesting here. Now, as far as like ATR on the day, not a 2-minute bar, on the day, we're only 60 points in the green. So it's not like we're making some big outsized move here. So let's watch this 2-minute bar, 55 seconds. Bears taking it back down to that previous bar's wick top. "25 seconds here to clean this up. I don't know. The bull's got to show some backbone. Get ready just in case. There's nothing there. Gotta wait for this next bar to develop, see what we get. Well, this bar kind of turned it into a beauty if we can hold it, huh? If we can get a nice, controlled close, I don't want to see some massive bar, but a controlled, growing bull bar closing at the high, I got to put it on. That's a good setup for me. Even in the market inertia environment we've been seeing. You know, it's not like I'd be betting on a 300-point breakout, right? 40 points. But bulls have to hold this up into the close. All right, 42 seconds out from the rollover of this 2-minute bar. And bears wicking it back down here. Let's see if the bulls can fix this. You see how the bears are really trying to make those shrinking bull bodies a thing? Can't see that if I'm looking to buy the rollover. All right, 15 seconds. I'll get ready just in case we see a last-minute solution here. There's nothing here. Nothing there yet. Yeah, we'll see if this turns into a little ascending channel. Obviously, this was never set in stone, so we'd have to adjust this. But for now, we'll delete that. Derek, just want to clarify, what do you mean by rollover? I know the term with options, but not in this context. The close of one bar into the open of the other bar. The bar rolls over into a new bar. That's it. Joseph, with a few seconds to go on the bar, why not put a limit order at the top? Do you mean like a stop limit entry? The reason I don't do that, especially in a rangy market, is because if we did get a last minute solution and we get it closed near the top and a rollover, a lot of times what happens is you get a slight pullback on the rollover and then I get a better price by using a limit just manually. Now, what you said, I might do in a super trendy market. We're definitely not in that right now, though. All right, I'll be right back. 2 minutes. Don't go anywhere. Okay, if this bar actually remains not outsized, that would be a setup for me. If it starts growing really any more than it already is, then we're coming into the 20 EMAs. That's going to be a problem. But we have 45 seconds. We'll see where we get to close here. Yeah, there'd be room. If the bulls don't wick it back like that, obviously that's a problem. 30 seconds here. Doesn't look like we're gonna get much, huh? You know, now again, in a reversal sequence, I need to see 3 consecutive bars for me to put on a continuation rollover. With the trend, 2 is enough, if they're relatively clean. Fear and Greed Index just hit, not that that really helps us put anything on, but it's interesting to look at. 34 out of 100. We were in extreme fear, which is 0 to 25. We're now in just fear. Again, not that that really helps us too much, but it's interesting. All right, market just kind of flattening out up top here. Really got to see something. Some kind of channel, some kind of break. All right, now you see we're within 30 points, 25 points of the 20 on the 2, but there's plenty of room between here and the 20 on the 5. So I gotta tell you, with another bar, another 2 bars, that really wouldn't be the case anymore. Just gotta wait for the stars to align, then I hit it. Accept the outcome. All right, a minute 12 out from the rollover of this bar, then I'd be looking at the next bar. All right, 30 seconds here for the rollover. Big outsized bars. That's not good to see for me. I don't like to see that. Because what I'm really looking at here is this bar. Now, we could still clean this up because in reality, that range was still within my range of the range of the last 2-minute bar, I mean, was still just 65. Okay, which is fine, but compared to the volatility today, it's definitely outsized. We can get a reasonable bar. However, what I gotta look at also is this. You know, I mean, there's you could draw like this, that's already getting broken. I think really, I don't like to use pre-market levels, I gotta tell you, but if we were going to, you could draw it like this, and that causes problems for continuation. At least potential problems, what I'm not into. Again, I'm really not a fan of using pre-market levels, but we'll just see if that does end up holding. I expect at least some bulls are going to look at that and say, hey, I'll buy that. Which I think you're already kind of seeing here. Yeah, I mean, you see, it's almost a perfect test. Now, whether or not the bulls can hold that is now the question. To be honest with you, I don't really want them to. Because I'd prefer to just see a breakdown side that I could just easily short. If we got a decent, you know, continuation setup sequence going on. We're kind of retesting that 20 EMA on the 5-minute. You can see top left here. We're right at it. We're also within 25 points of the break-even point on the day. Okay, so that last 2-minute bar got a big wick back upside. Okay. Now, what I'm interested in seeing is if we can get consecutive bear bars that are not really obviously shrinking, which this one's turning into a doji here with 10 seconds left. I would be interested in continuation down through the trend line I have drawn right now. Again, it's using a pre-market level, and here we go. The bulls are trying to create a reversal sequence. This very much right now is a channel-driven market. Like we talked about beginning of the day with market inertia, right? It makes it a little... I have to be a little more hesitant to bet on a trend. I'm not going to say bet on breakouts because I'm usually betting on just continuations of a breakout that already happened, or using continuation setups to and then a stop loss breakout to push me to target. But you get what I mean. So we'll see if we can get that set up. John just got a 50K TPT account. Take Profit Trader logged in, had delayed data, contacted Take Profit Trader on their page, and was fixed within 5 minutes. Used code BIG. Cool, good word. I'm still waiting on a reply from them. I'm hoping they get my balances fixed here today. We're just sticking to the outsides of this channel, huh? Again, that trend line, if we look here, the trend line looks very clean, right? It's like, oh, there's 3 touch points. That first one's pre-market, remember? So what I really want to see is this break downside. Okay, a minute 40 out. Now, let's just not see the bulls wick this back up inside of the channel like they're currently doing. We have a minute and 20 to clean up this 2-minute bar. See if we can get a bit of a setup going here. It doesn't seem like the market is quite ready to give up on this big range. I mean, it's so obvious. Look at the range, right? But if you can get enough of a break with good closes on a few bars, you kind of force the market to be okay with it. We're just not really seeing that quite yet. What's up, Raymond? Welcome. How you doing? So you see the bulls, every time we get to the outside of a of this big channel. The bulls are trying to create a reversal sequence back upside. The bear is trying to do it back downside. And you end up with this. You know, now if we could get a strong push and then a retest with no continuation sequence on the retest, I would take that channel scalp. You know, Pumple, exactly what I just said, that's what it would take for me to get long off this line here. Right now, I gotta be honest, what I'm really looking at is if we can get this bar closing near the low, a rollover, maybe a retest of the trend line, and then a low close. Boom. I enter short. I don't care. I don't have any bias up or down. I'll just take the setups. I think having a bullish or bearish bias can, for a lot of people, just hurt you. I really don't care which way it goes. Okay, 13 seconds out here. We'll get the rollover of this bar. If we can close beneath that trend line, I would think it's probable that we see a retest, which we're actually getting already on this bar. There's the rollover. Back's kind of up against the wall against that previous trend line. There's the retest. Pushing through, attempting to at least. For me to get short, it would take the bulls to give up on this channel, the bears to take it lower, and close with a moderate-sized bear bar near the low. Okay, we have a minute 25 to make that happen. $45 seconds. Bulls aren't letting that happen, are they? Trying to take this back upside here. Now, by the way, have a flat bottom on those two lows after the bell, which I like to use flat bottoms as tools for continuation setup fuel, like rocket fuel, to push to target. But things have to line up just right for me to be able to do that. Jackson, do you use cumulative delta or EMAs? I'm using just the line on the chart, the one line on the chart that is the 20 exponential moving average. That's it. As little as possible. If I could get rid of that, I would. But again, when there's absolutely nothing on the chart, it feels just a little weird to me. Like, I don't really feel like I know what I'm looking at exactly. I just put it on there for context. But it's always kind of an afterthought as far as an entry. But speaking of that, here we are testing them both. By the way, they're lining up now on the 5-minute and the 2-minute. So we'll see if the bulls can push us through. Okay, so we're 30 seconds out, 35 seconds out. The nice thing about this channel is that it's wide enough for me to put on a continuation in between. It still leaves room. But I would need at least 40 points, ideally more like 50 points, 60 points, to the reasonable next test of that ascending resistance if I were to get long. Yeah, Michael, I would need to see 3. Though I would be okay with the middle one being a little sloppy like this one kind of is. At least it closed above the previous bar's high. It's not too bad. But this one would need to be moderately sized and a strong close. And then I would buy the rollover. All right, minute 15 out. We got to clear that previous 2-minute bar wick top and get a nice close near the high of this bar, well above the EMAs on both the 5 and the 2. But today is just a battle. No one's really showing up today, huh? Alright, 35 seconds out here. We will engage the copy trader and get ready in case we see a nice close. It's kind of tight. Okay, 5 minute is clear. 2 minute is relatively clear. We got 15 seconds. And I will be ready to go. I don't want to see a wick back to the previous bar's high like we're currently seeing. 5 seconds. Oh, bulls push us a little higher. There's a wick back. I gotta hold off. No trade. Ugly wick back. Bears won the last few seconds of that bar. Same idea, by the way, applies here on this bar. It always is a little bit frustrating when you finally kind of get a sequence going and it just barely pulls back and it's no longer good enough. With channels, you get the same thing. You get perfect little setups, then boom, you don't really get a test. Or what we've had happen is you end up just dumping off right through the test. That's why I put them on manually, by the way, instead of just putting out limits. All right, we are 60 seconds out here from the close of this 2-minute bar, and I will put this on if we get a clean close. Engage the copier, and I'm ready to rock in case we get it. All right, 18 seconds. See if the bulls can keep this clean. There we go, and I will limit order out, no fill, and there we go. I'm sitting long. Average price 19,329 and a quarter. Stop down at 19,289 and a quarter. Take profit up at 19,369 and a quarter. See if the bulls can take care of that continuation for us back up toward kind of the other end of that channel. 5 minutes. I'm sorry, 5 points in the green. That popped us to 15 points in the green. 18 points in the money. Okay, take profit up at 19,369 and a quarter. $25 points in the green. 30 points in the green. Just give me a little bit more of a push up to 69 and a quarter. Bears stepping in a little bit, wicking it back down here. You can see this is currently what the ratio looks like. Here's the look of all the charts. Bears stepping in, trying to wick this baby back down. No reason for me to manage early here, just gotta let it play out. Bears trying to pull this back a little bit. Again, no reason at all for me to manage early here. Early management in a situation like this is an emotional decision. Currently sitting about 13 points in the green. Morning, Nico took a one-hitter. 50 points and done. My favorite trades. 5-0 on the week. Negative RR is paying this week for me. Good work. Good work. We are 15, 17 points in the green. Just gotta see the Bulls take this a little higher than that previous bar's wick, up through 19,369 and a quarter. And that would hit us out. Again, average price here, 19,329 and a quarter. $15 points in the green, kind of bouncing back and forth here. Bears are trying to trigger some kind of reversal sequence. Still would be way too early to manage this early. All right, 25 points in the green about. $30 points in the money. Got target at 19,369 and a quarter. Gotta see about 10 more points here. 15 more points. Bulls starting to put in maybe a little bit of a flat top up top there. Yeah, nothing to justify early management here. Lee, if this trade works out, I'm crushing some Chick-fil-A. I'm starving, so use my hunger as early management justification if you need to. You're gonna have to hold off, brother. We'll just see. Maybe if we get that extra 10 points, you can grab a couple extra orders and nugs or something. All right, here we go. 69.25 again is target. Need about 9 more points, 8 more points. Let's be honest, I'm getting it regardless. Love it. Oh man, these bears just keep wicking me right back. Come on, bull, show a little backbone for me. $15 points in the money, 20 points in the money. Kind of just volatile in this 350 region. Again, that 19,350, that's a tier 4 level. I'm not concerned with that in and of itself. Just not relevant enough. Kind of just teasing my level there, huh? That's how it currently sits. All right, there's the bar rollover. Gibbs, Nico, curious what you're looking for in price action that would change your mind in how to manage this trade. So I'm sitting long, right? Average is 329.25. If I saw some kind of really obvious bearish continuation setup that I would enter if I was not in a position short, which is against my current long position, but it hasn't stopped me out yet, then I would manage it early. But that's kind of like a big ask for the market. So managing early is not going to happen all that often. Though you guys have seen me do it for other reasons, which is my other reason, which is if volatility collapses and the ATR is like, I entered when the ATR was like 27 and now I'm in the trade and it's like, 17 or something. Then I have to start thinking about managing early just because I'm making it too big of an ask for the market we're currently in. Right now, ATR is at 30. There's no reason to manage this thing early. We haven't seen some kind of obvious short setup that I would enter, so gotta let it work. Again, currently about 12 points, 15 points in the green. 20 points in the green now. Target at 19,369.25. All right, 30 plus points around there in the money. Real volatile. If we can just break this flat top that we're forming here, that would basically push me to target. So let's just get the bulls doing that. But these bears keep doing this to me. Pretty much, a few points in the money. Pretty much back to break even on the trade here. Just want to see that flat top. The bulls take us through that flat top a little bit here and see what we can do. All right, there's the test of the 20 on the 2. 20 on the 5 minute is down here at about 315. About 5-10 points in the green as we currently sit. All right, bulls, take us back up. Break that flat top. Well, there's a bit of a push. 20 points in the money. Flat top around 360. Target up at, again, 369 and a quarter. See if we can just snap up that flat top. Probably a few shorts up there. I wouldn't bet the farm on a whole bunch of shorts being up here right here. But here's the test of the flat. See if we can break that thing. All right, need to see 10 more points to hit target. Right at that flat. Need a little bit of a push to maybe start triggering a few stops. And the bulls just can't push it up out of that flat range. At least not right now. Yeah, that's a crazy, that is quite the flat top. Bears are really defending it here so far. Kind of causing me some issues, huh? But let's see if they can, if the bulls, if they can just get it a couple ticks above the high point. I think that would trigger a few stops to actually get enough momentum to push me there. But this is one of those trades that's like, come on now. Again, no reason to manage early. At least not based on my plan. Tubed out. If that flat top breaks, would we get a big bullish push? Well, how big is the question? There are definitely some stops up there, but I would not bet the farm on there being a ton of stop losses right above that flat top, just because it's not that mature yet. It's not that old. It's put in. Okay, here we go. Right around break even here on the trade. See if we can just get one more test. Oh, these bears are breaking it downside on me. See if they can fix it. Bulls can step. Oh, here is the test of the 5-minute 20 EMA, by the way. Worth mentioning. All right, about 12 points here in the red. Stop is down at 19,289 and a quarter. That 19.3, by the way, tier 3 level. I'm not really looking at that on its own. Here's the retest of the 20 EMA on the 5, by the way. We are 55 seconds out here from the rollover of this 2-minute bar. The Bulls are trying to hold on, really. If you look at the 20 EMA on the 5, that's kind of what they're trying to hold on to right now. We'll see if they can. Again, average is at 329, sitting long. Been in this trade for quite a while now. That flat top up top, we were within 8 points of hitting our 40-point target many times. But again, I can't manage early. We are back in the green on the trade here. Sitting in the green about 6 points. All I really need here is for the Bulls to make one more test of that flat top. Take out what, maybe few stops I know are there, which by the way is growing bar by bar, how many stops are getting put up there with shorts entering. And that right there might be enough if the Bulls could take that out. But kind of back and forth right around break even on the trade here right now. Again, here's a retest of the 20 EMA on the 5-minute. Back in the green, break even-ish. Right now, really, this is a battle over the 20 EMA and the 5. I mean, straight up, we're sitting right at it. And break even. You know, we're at 0% right now on the day. Mitz, was it last week a trade took over 30 minutes? Yeah, I think that was last week. This trade here, by the way, far longer than my average. And we are just barely in the green, a few points as it currently sits here. Alright, we are now 10 points in the green. $15 points in the green. Tubed out. Is it worth lowering the take profit to that flat top and taking 35 points? Well, listen, if ATR was falling, which it's not, it's at 35, which is a healthy ATR, the answer to that question would be yes. But in the current environment, that seems innocent. However, when you get in that habit, all of a sudden you start taking 35 points all the time. You start taking 30 points all the time. You start justifying it whenever you can, and now you lose your edge in a lot of cases. So, no. That would be a rule break for me. Just because I feel like that flat top, oh man, that flat top, you know, that's causing problems. Well, I use flat tops for liquidity on other trades, so I can't change that here. All right, we are 20 points in the green. Again, target is at 19,369 and a quarter. Got to do my job today, and that's it. Bull's coming in for another test here of this flat top. We can just see a breakthrough there, trigger a few stops. That might be enough to push me into target. At least get me close. All right, test to the flat. Come on, Bull, show me a little backbone and just push us right through. Need about 12 more points to hit target. There's the rollover. That's not too bad of a sequence. Bears are going to try to reverse this here. There's 360. It's kind of the battle point. Yeah, just above 360. That's the battle point. There's the test. Sellers in that area. By the way, the more frequently you're able to test that, pull back 5-10 points, test it, pull back 5-10 points. Guess what happens to bears that are selling that region? Well, their orders get executed, and then at some point there's not enough left. If you can break it, you know, it's a question of who wins that argument. Like, who's the last man standing? Here's another test. And 360 to 363 is a battleground. Doji bar, interesting. Good test. Quite the flat top here, huh? We got a little push. Little push through. Sellers still trying to step in. Bear's trying to reverse this baby back down. Just need the bulls to step in, show me a little bit of backbone here. I mean, we've been within five points of target. I mean, listen, that 5 points consistently, if you're giving it up consistently, that can be enough to give away your edge. It really can. And still 26 points in the green. Just need to see the bulls show enough backbone to push us 5 points up through that top. All right, let's see if we can get 369 and a quarter. There we go, and we are out at target. Flatten. All right, that puts us break even on the day. Actually, that's not true, because the first trade we took a little bit of slippage, but they were 1R loser, then a 1R winner, so we're actually down 275 bucks across all the accounts total, which for me is break even essentially. So let's see what else we can grab here. That's one of those trades where you just, it's like, but listen guys, those are the ones that can wick people out emotionally. And that's a problem. If you're giving up 5-10 points all the time, that can really mess up your stats. And listen, yeah, sometimes you're going to get within 5 points of target. It's going to turn around and stop you out. Emotionally, that sucks. Psychologically, that's not great. But that's part of the game. You have to deal with that to actually procure the edge. When people take things off really early, what they're doing is they're giving up their edge they're making a trade, no pun intended. They're trading their edge for comfortable emotional exposure, we'll say. I'm not into that. Lee, thank God. I thought Chick-fil-A was gonna close. Well, you earned it, Lee. Kevin, did you at least move your stop to break even, or did you just leave it? No, I just left it. I just left it. Moving your stop to break even lowers your win rate. It doesn't make your stats better. It just makes them different. That's been back-tested a tremendous amount of times. And I think a lot of people like to move stops to break even. Again, they're protecting their psychology. And that's okay. If you need that protection, then you should do that. But it's not better or worse to move to break even. It just makes your data look a little different. But at the end of the day, if you have edge, who cares? If you have edge moving to break even, move to break even. Damn straight. If you have edge not moving to break even, then leave it. What's up? What's up, Scott? Welcome back. How do you feel about trailing stops? Same deal. Same deal. Trailing stops, it's going to make your win rate lower. Well, it depends when you start trailing them, right? If you start trailing them from one tick in the money, or if you start trailing them when you cover your stop, it just changes the data. It doesn't really make it better or worse. Chambers, hey Nico, been watching you for a while now, learning a lot. Good to hear. I wanted to close out, but seeing you keep steady made me stick it out. Thank you. I'm learning trading for a better life for my family. No better reason. No better reason. Now, if you're just joining us here, I'm break even on the day. Due to slippage, I'm down like 275 bucks. Whatever, it's break even essentially. As far as news, we are clear for the rest of the day, so we're good to trade to our heart's content all day, pretty much. Again, keep an eye out for unexpected tariff news. That is always a concern in this market here right now, so just keep looking what the market will give us here. $307 on micros times 3 top step accounts, up 3K total on the week. That's real money. Damn right. Love this group. Great week. Good work. Nice work, Bruce. Keep it up. Hey, Dan. Welcome back. How you doing? What's up, Dips? How you doing? All right, guys. I'll be back in 2 minutes. I need a refill. All right, we are back. Good, looks like we didn't miss too much here. You won 10 green days in a row. Learning a lot from you, thanks. Cool, good work, keep it up. 10 in a row, that's quite the streak, huh? Lee, I am relocating to my home office. You guys will be out by the time I get back online, so have a great weekend, Nico, and chat. Stay awesome. Hit that like button. That's right, I haven't said. If you haven't done so yet, please press like on my stream. Helps out tremendously. All right, Lee, we'll see you Monday. Have a good weekend, brother. As for me, I gotta stick around and see what else the market gives me here, because I am currently break even on the day. Well, to be fair, 275 bucks in the red on the day, which is pretty much break even. Mohammed, I mixed my micro scalp strategy with yours, about to get funded. Cool, man. Cool, keep going. Christian, been trading for 3 weeks. Fresh. I have a lot to learn. Watching you, I passed my first eval in a week. Good. Overconfidence and rule break led to a huge drawdown on my funded account last week. 5 for 5 this week. Yeah, Christian, over time, the rule breaks should happen less frequently. Pumple, when was your last losing day? Last red day? I don't remember. I think it was... Let me look. I don't want to lie to you, because I don't remember. I think it was like maybe a couple weeks ago? I don't know. I don't know, which is a good thing, by the way. The fact that you don't know is, even if it was like 3 days ago, that's good. Put it in the rear view. It doesn't matter. Just move on. The last day that we were technically in the red was either... No, I don't think it was break even, because that break even day that we had, we ended up getting that big, like $4,200 winner or something. I remember what shirt I was wearing. It was like a tan cream colored shirt. I think it was a couple weeks ago. It's on stream if you want to go look back on stream and see. Kale, what is the smart way to transition from a full-time job to trading? Like, would it make sense to go part-time trading while still working my full-time job? Okay, so Kale, the way to do this, first of all, depends how old you are and what your responsibilities are. Hold up here. We got 1 minute and 12 seconds out from the close of this bar. Which ooh, this would actually be a half-decent setup. Not half-decent, this would be a good setup for me. If we can get a nice close a little bit higher than this, and then we could use this top, which hit after the market opened, which is good, as some potential stop hunting. So 50 seconds out. Kale, if you're young, I think taking a little more risk and doing it a little earlier, but you still want to make sure you're consistent either way, makes sense. If you're a little bit older, obviously you want to be a little bit more certain, which means having more months of profitability backlogged. But when you're consistently making more money for, you know, back-to-back months and months and months than you are at your job, I think, you know, being at your job when you could be trading or at least working on your trading data starts to make less and less sense. But there's no right way to do it or wrong way to do it. It's just whatever you're most comfortable with. Okay, we are not seeing a nice clean close. So I gotta wait for this next bar to develop here and see what we get. Joseph, bro, your last trade didn't move, zero motions, not even a blink. Honestly, I needed to see that. My stomach started to turn with the whipsaw. Yeah, Joseph, over time, the more losing trades you take, and the more winning trades you take, and the more backlogged data you have that says provably, hey, this is data which doesn't lie, the longer and more trades that I take, the more money I make, which means you have statistical edge. You just kind of stop caring. It's easy to not care too much about the outcome of any given trade when you have so much proof to yourself that, hey, maybe you're good at this. And that'll come. Just make sure you're logging your data and studying it. And when your data starts to look good, look at it constantly. Because, you know, you're going to second guess telling yourself that, you know, I'm a good trader. You're going to second guess that even if you are a great trader. But when you're looking at data, and numbers do not lie, and you're looking at it and you're like, all right, well, on paper, like, I literally am a great trader. I'm statistically, I have an edge, and I am profitable. And it's been, you know, weeks, months, ideally. You're going to look through and see a bunch of losers. But hey, at the end of the day, I still made this much money. Wow, that's great. You just stop caring about any individual outcome. Well, Bear is trying to bring this back into a channel here. Let's see if they can. Trick Biscuit, what's up? Yo, Nico, just passed my evals with that stressful last trade. LOL, I'm done for the week. Thank you for dedicating all your time and knowledge. Hope you have a great weekend. Cool, man. Have a good weekend. John, are you looking to take a short at high of day? No, I would actually be looking if we can get a nice continuation setup into high of day. I'd be looking to buy the rollover of a continuation setup, 2 to 3 consecutive bull bars, entry bar, growing, or mid-sized, closing at the high, to use that high of day ideally as some stop hunting liquidity. Fun fact, Nico's the calm one in our marriage. Yes, that is the real missus. She's in the chat. Pumple, how would you approach trading if you were to start over, like backtesting all day, logging all the backtested trades, or, no. Honestly, not that that's the bad way to do it. That's just not what I would do. What I would do is I would get in the simulator. If I was starting day one, I'd get in the simulator, make sure I understand candles, charts, make sure all my orders work, make sure I understand my hotkeys, get the muscle memory for my hotkeys. And then I would either fund a futures account, if you could afford to, with a little bit of money and trade 1 micro. And I would sit and I would trade 1 micro, or you could do the prop thing, which is probably cheaper and probably a better idea because there's just less downside risk. And you could sit in an eval and trade, because, you know, you're in an eval, but you still have some money on the line. You have the fee to pay for that, right? So I would sit and I would trade 1 micro, I would log all my data, I would look, and then I would say, okay, I'll take inspiration of setups that seem to work for other people. Do they work for me? And a few weeks go by, you look at the data and it says, oh shit, this one setup actually works really well for me. And then you can scale from there, the more data you get. That's really what I would do. I think sitting in an actual simulator with $0 on the line at all, like not even a prop fee, for months, I really think is kind of a mistake. A lot of people will tell you to do that because they just are trying to protect you from yourself, and I get it. But for me, I know that I can win, or like even like in the beginning, you can win all day in a sim. Everything changes once you have even $1 on the line, psychologically, okay? And that's a huge thing to learn. So you want to just get into that as quickly as possible, but you want to learn the lesson for as few dollars as possible, which is why you trade 1 micro. There's no reason to trade up any more than that at all, because you're going to be losing for a little bit until you figure out what works. Kale, 1 micro, the margin for NQ, I think the margin for 1 micro is, it depends on volatility in the market, but it's usually, I think, like $100. I think sometimes it might be 50, but it's not a lot of money. Obviously, you want to have a little bit more padding to take on heat in the actual trade, but... Yeah, offensive, $100 is the micro margin. I think most of the time at a lot of brokers for the Nasdaq, for the MNQ. All right, looks like we are putting in a little bit of a channel here. Yeah, TC, I'm looking at that, but we really only have this right here is kind of the third touch point. I gotta tell you, it's a little weird that the bottom of this channel is kind of right below the 20 on the 2. I'd prefer it's this way though, because you see on the 5-minute chart, we kind of have the 20 EMA right below as potential support. This is not as relevant, the 20 on the 2, but I know that some traders look at it, but it's a less common chart, so I wouldn't be so concerned with that. Just aware that it's there. But if we could get a break downside through this channel, and actually what I'm going to do here, take a look here. I'm going to delete this. If we can get a breakdown through any hope of this channel, kind of kill off any hope that the bulls have of buying that channel, get a nice low close, roll over, nice low close, I would short that. Okay, but that's a couple bars out. Bulls trying to hold that 20 EMA to 5 though. We're within 30 points, by the way, of that break-even point on the day for Nasdaq. 40 points-ish. I'd prefer to just stay away from that if possible. That seems to be a little hang-up in the last few weeks. Kill. So they will really give you a margin account that you can trade MNQ on for $100. I left the trading world in like 2022, so that sounds crazy to me. Yeah, the futures market is America, and the stock market is kind of like China. They don't let you do what you want to do. So the PDT rule sucks. Don't get me started. But the futures market, they let you do what you want. Now, you're going to want to have a little more than $100, because if you just cover the margin and then you take on any red at all, they're just going to liquidate your account. So you want to have enough extra over the margin to take on losing trades. But yes, for a couple $100 in the market, you can trade 1 micro as much as you want, which is kind of nuts. Futures are a wonderfully designed trading product, and I very much so appreciate that they let people do what they want. Well, we're kind of in the bottom side of this channel here. Yeah, you know, options are good, Kale. Options are great. Net short option strategies were the first thing that ever worked consistently for me and let me do this full time. That was the first thing. And I still use them to this day, but it takes 5 minutes a day to manage, and most people, when they trade options, they're buying them because they're lottery tickets. You have to understand, why do options exist? Why is there even a market in options? Someone is selling you massive leverage. That's what they're selling you. They're selling you huge leverage. They have to get something for doing that, right? So in return, they get massively high probability of success, which means you, as a buyer of especially short-dated out-of-the-money options, are getting massive leverage, very small chance of success. Otherwise, if you had huge leverage and really great probability, like everyone seems to think, nobody would sell it to you. All right, let's see if the bears can break this down lower, get through that 5-minute 20 EMA, and give me a nice little downside continuation setup. I'd be very interested in that. You know, something else to think about, by the way, guys, is especially if you're a little younger, even if you're older, because, I mean, let's be honest, in today's day and age, who knows, in the next 10, 15, 20 years, because it always takes a little longer than everyone thinks, with the advancement of artificial intelligence in a medical application, I think most of us are probably going to live a little longer than you might think right now. So even if you're a little older, this still applies to you. Something good to think about for the futures market is if you get in the groove here, you can scale. This market is so deep that you can scale this thing bigger than you'll ever need. Which, by the way, if you're trading individual stocks, that's not necessarily the case. You can still make a lot of money trading individual stocks like small caps. But there is a ceiling because you can't take, you know, a 400,000 share position really in most of those names, right? Like, there's kind of a cap. Liquidity is the cap. Here, it's like one mini is $20 a point, and you can take a bunch of minis. Now, there's some kind of cap, okay, but it's ridiculous. All right, here we go. Here we go. A minute 40 out here from the close of this 2-minute bar. Let's see if we can get a nice little continuation setup. Rocking and rolling. All right, don't grow too much more. If we can get a nice close in this region on this bar without a wick back upside, then I would sell this rollover. The ATR is still sitting about 27, which is within my 25 to 70 range. "60 seconds out. You can look here on the 5-minute chart. We are below the 20 on the 5, which is obviously good to see. But I don't want to see these bulls wicking this back up too much more here. Gotta see a nice low close. Bulls trying to turn this into a doji. 42 seconds to clean this up. Oh, come on, Bears. We're retesting the 5-minute 20 EMA. We may end up seeing this turn into a little ascending channel. I mean, you guys see this, right? This has some potential here. We'll see. Yeah, we've got 7 seconds to clean this up. All right, bears trying to trigger, you can see here, off that 20 EMA on the 5, bears are trying to trigger a bit of a reversal sequence. You can see they put in that wick on the bear bar 2 bars ago. And they make this one a doji. Now they're pushing the 20 on the 2. That's the beginning stages of an attempt at a reversal sequence, so we'll see if they can hold that up. Ideally, I don't want to see them do so. Because then that takes my continuation setup kind of off the table. Debris, I'm thinking that one day, more soon than later, trading is going to be an AI-only affair. No more human traders. You know what? Even though floor traders did disappear, and I obviously wasn't around, but like when they would call them like the upstairs traders, when people started transitioning from the floor to like upstairs sitting in front of the computer, a lot of floor traders really hated that. They were really angry. And I mean, rightfully so, because it kind of stole their edge. A lot of those guys were making a ton, and women were making a ton of money. And then in the course of like less than a decade, they could not make money anymore on the floor. And a lot of them just kind of quit and retired. But what you're saying, no more human traders, I mean, people were also saying that back then. And, you know, here we are. Retail trading is bigger than ever. It's just digital. So I don't know. I mean, I hope you're wrong, but we'll see. Right, 38 seconds here from the rollover of this 2-minute bar. Again, in this little downtrend that we're seeing, I mean, the market overall is kind of sideways, right? But in this little downtrend we're seeing, I would need 2 reset bars after that attempt. So I need to see this one close maybe here, and then another bar close maybe down here, and then I would sell. Nicely below the 20 EMA on the 5-minute now, though, so... Here comes the rollover. There it is. Now this next bar could be an entry bar for me. We'll see if we get it. I would need to see a nicely sized bear bar closing at or very near its low. And that rolls over in 1:48. There's a bit of a rollover push. Sorry, not a rollover push, but Green to red push. $55 seconds. Need to see this turn into a much cleaner bear bar closing at the low. And need it to grow a bit here. Doesn't have to get bigger than the last bar, but bigger than it is currently. There we go. Making a little bit of progress here. $35 seconds. Well, I will get ready just in case. But bulls are not really letting this happen, are they? Well, here comes the rollover. Not going to be a setup for me. Nothing there. All right, for me here, it would just take 2 consecutive good bars. The bulls are trying to hold the bottom side of this little descending channel, but the channel itself is kind of ugly. But if that could clean up, then I would go channel mentality from the upside. Right, but both ideas right now for me are short ideas, just based on what the market's giving me right now. But that can change. So, okay, let's get this guy drawn, even though he's not really been put in yet. I mean, that to me is very obvious. I know people are looking at that, but there's only 2 touch points. I prefer 3. By the way, this is the retest here. You look at the 5-minute chart. This is the retest of the 20 EMA on the 5. Now coming in for a test on the 2. Yeah, 2 trades so far today, break even. Started the day with a loser, then took a winner. Now just waiting to see if the market gives us something good. I mean, you look at the 5-minute chart here. This market is sideways all day. I mean, look, we're break even on the day as far as percentage on the Nasdaq, which is, I mean, it's fine. It's kind of gross, but it's fine. I mean, it offers some opportunity because the range at least has been a little bit wider where it offers some setups. Just gotta see if this one here develops into something. All right, here comes an attempt at a test of this descending trend line. This here would be the third touch point. Let's see what we get here. By the way, this is also looking like a little bull continuation setup. So when those two worlds collide, it's always kind of up in the air what we end up getting. Here's the test. You know, no, honestly, if we see a rollover here, which is coming in 30 seconds, if we see a nice close, like right here, if we saw that close there, roll over, and then a push with a bull bar closing at its high, I would buy the rollover, 100%. I would actually prefer if that occurred, but we'll see if this trend line holds up. Well, there's a nice close below the trend line. Bears wicked that back down. Higher high. Nico, what do you think? VWAP versus 20 EMA? Listen, I like them both. I'm a huge fan of VWAP across the board. I don't know. I just throw up the 20 on these charts just for context. It tends to stay a little closer. It tends to me. It feels as if the 20 is more relevant more often on like the 5 minute because you get more touch points. Right now the VWAP is great, but I'm a huge fan of volume weighted average price in like a momentum small cap stock where I think the information there is maybe slightly more relevant, but that doesn't mean it's a bad indicator. Volume weighted average price is a very real indicator. As far as indicators go, it's one of, if not the best. But for me on futures, I think the best like indicator is just price action plus understanding what the range is doing. So you can make adjustments if you need to. All right, here comes the rollover of this 2-minute bar. There's the back test of the trend line. A minute 25 left on this 2-minute bar. If we can get a nice push upside with a good close at or near the high, then gotta tell you, I would buy that rollover. but I can't see it get sloppy. I gotta see it close at or near the high. "45 seconds. I don't know if you guys have noticed this, but we are literally right at that flat top that we were having issues with earlier. I mean, like, it's so specific. Like, the low 360s today have just been a pain in the ass. I want to see us clear that. All right, 17 seconds. Are the bulls going to clean it up? I'll get ready just in case. Doesn't look too promising, but... Nope, close inside of that 2-bar prior high. Gotta hold off. That's not a setup. Similar idea applies here on this bar now. 1:50 out. ATR currently sitting right at about 24-25. So very much so at the low end of my ideal range. But that's okay, it's still within reason. Minute 15 out. Higher high. ATR, in this context, you look up top, bottom of your screen up top here. That's showing the range, yellow, and the ATR, which is blue. It is just the average range of the last 10 2-minute bars expressed in a point value. So how many points is the average 2-minute bar in the last 20 minutes? That's all it is. All right, 40 seconds here. We need to close above 19,371. Then I'd be putting this on. 25 seconds. Bear's trying to wick this baby back down. Nothing. Similar idea applies here on this bar. We got 1:25. We can see a nice close again. Same idea. Near the high of this bar, clear of all the previous wicks. That'd be cool. Putting it on. Now, as we move higher here, by the way, bar after bar after bar, we're moving a little bit higher. Something that we need to pay attention to is this. What we should do is delete this. We got 40 seconds here. And we got to look at this. So, you know, honestly, ideally, a close above like 390 would be best. But we're just seeing shrinking bull bars here. Here's the rollover. First red bar in a sequence of, what, 7 bull bars? Just barely, kind of a gravestone doji. Well, we said pretty much break even right now, which is fine. Let's see what else the market brings us here. By the way, if you missed 90% off Apex, you kind of have a second shot. It's 80% off now. Not 90, but 80 is still damn good. It's still one of the best deals they run. So it's 80% off single day pass. Make sure you use code BIG. If you pass today, you can be trading a funded account by Monday. However, if you're more into the daily payout structure of Take Profit Trader, it's 30% off. No activation fee with code BIG, which is huge. That saves you like half the cost. So that no activation fee is a big deal. Obviously, at Apex, you do have an activation fee, which is either $85 a month or $130 lifetime. Take Profit Trader, you don't if you use the code, which is a big deal. Now, I'm watching here to see if this trend line turns into something. Again, if we can get a close above there, with, you guys know my continuation setup at this point, right? I would be buying that rollover. But that's really what I'm looking for here. Otherwise, if we can see a test and a rejection, then all of a sudden this becomes a 3 touch point descending resistance, which then I would try to short the 4th test. So anyway, guys, that's going to be it for the stream here for the week. Listen, if you haven't done so yet, please subscribe to the channel. Live 8:15 a.m. Central Time every single day that the market is open. So I'll see you 8:15 a.m. Monday. Have a good weekend, guys. Rest up. We got work to do. All right, I'll see you in a few days.